We do good works in the Mahayana tradition not to go to heaven, but to become a Buddha ultimately. And that is the first path, accumulation of merit and wisdom. So wisdom, you study, you meditate, you analyze and find out whether what the Buddha said is correct or not, and if it is correct, why it is correct, and how is that applicable to my life, my experience, day-to-day experience, So that's how you do it. That's the accumulation of merit and wisdom, And gradually, if you accumulate that and you practice, then your faith in the Buddha or what the Buddha said, and your mindfulness, your samadhi, your wisdom, and your effort, becomes more and more powerful, more and more powerful, more and more powerful. And then in Sanskrit, these are called 5 faculties, indriya, faculties. The 5 faculties of faith and so on turn into the 5 powers. Bal. Bal is the Sanskrit word. It means strength, strength and so on. They turn into 5 powers, That's when we go into the second part of the path, Second part of the path, which is called Prayog Marga, means that which joins you to enlightenment, And then if you continue on the path, you enter into the path of seeing, Darshan Marga, and that is called seeing emptiness for the first time non-conceptually. And then you are enlightened, But this word enlightened is a very vague, awakened, enlightened. The Buddha was not just enlightened. When you become enlightened by entering the path of seeing, you are the first step of enlightenment. There are in Mahayana tradition 10 levels, what are called 10 bhumis. Bhumis means base, ground, 10 bhumis. And as you climb up the ladder and reach the 10th, and then go beyond the 10th, then you become a Buddha. So that is why a Buddha is only a short word, the kind of a shorthand. The full name is Samyak Sambuddha. Samyak means correctly, Sam means totally, Buddha means awakened or enlightened. So he is not merely enlightened, he is correctly and totally or completely enlightened. This brings the word correctly, which all implies there are incorrect forms of enlightenment too. Incorrect forms of enlightenment too, right? And that is not, what are the incorrect forms of enlightenment? They do not lead you towards Buddha, becoming a Buddha. Yeah? They get you stuck in a certain stage of mental state, for kalpas. You are aware of the word kalpa, right? Eons, for kalpas. And then you end up finishing, that finishes off, and then you come back again, either to the earth, or you may even go down further into hell. The word down, of course, is not down there, somewhere down there, but down in the sense of a comparatively lower, So the cycle continues, and that's why the person who meditates, different kinds of meditation, and makes a great effort and attains deep samadhis and so on, is very blissful, very enjoyable, and very calm, quiet, and a lot of his kleshas, passions, are kind of subdued, but they are only subdued. They are not uprooted, and his ignorance is not even addressed, but he remains very, even his aura is very powerful. If people come near him, they feel the energy, they feel, oh, this guy is great, you feel that, and so on. But his meditation technique has not addressed nascience, means avidya, and the kleshas at all, So they have only slept, become latent. I use the word slept because the exact Sanskrit word anushaya means sleeping, but the best English word is latent, which also means lying down anyway. So latent, So they are just latent, and therefore the person is not free yet, And so going back to the Paramitayan, Sutrayan, and the way of antidote. There are many schools of Paramitayan in China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, these places, right? And China was perhaps the first big civilization that Buddhism went to. In the process, it went through Afghanistan and later on started leaking into what is called today Iran, Persia. Actually, Faras is the word, Persia, and then into Syria and even as far as Egypt, because Wensang writes in his travelogue that people from Alexandria in Egypt were studying in Nalanda, So that means even, and he also wrote there's a colony of Buddhists in Alexandria. So Buddhism had spread quite far, eastward, westward and eastward as well. And then we come to the next highway, which is called the way of transformation. Parinati Marga. Parinati means transformation. Now this is what Vajrayana or Mantrayana is. And it is the way of transformation. It is its process, its methodology is what could be called alchemical. That's the best word. And Urdu is an Indian language which is a mixture of Hindi, Persian and Arabic, but mostly Persian and Hindi combined. It's called alchemia. Probably the English word came from the Arabic and the Persian word, alchemia. Alchemical means the principle behind it is like if you have a lodestone, in Sanskrit it is called parasmani. Mani means jewel and paras, jewel. If it touches copper, copper turns into gold, right? Likewise, when the lodestone of the nature of mind touches hatred, anger, attachment, greed, these things, they turn into the 5 Buddhas. That is the principle behind Vajrayana. And that is based entirely on the nature of mind. That is the lodestone. Without the nature of mind, Vajrayana will be similar to Hindu Tantra. Similar to, but not exactly the same still. It is where the nature of mind comes as lodestone, as a transformative. And this is what is called Vajrayana. I will go into Vajrayana a little bit in detail right now, but the 4th way is an extension of Vajrayana. In the Vajrayana text, like Hevajra Tantra and other tantras as well, it is said very clearly, like words like, there is no mantra, there is no deity, there is only this. And this is, what is this meant? By this is meant nature of mind. The word mantra itself in Vajrayana is related to the nature of mind. Man means mind. So the real mantra is the nature of mind. And the outer mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, I mean, you're all used to Tibetan pronunciation, Om Mani Padme Hum, but that's a Sanskrit word actually. And in Sanskrit, you pronounce it as Om Mani Padme Hum. Padme Hum is outer mantra. The real mantra is the nature of mind. And in the Hevajra Tantra, it says very clearly, Na Buddho lavate anyatra. Buddha is not found anywhere else. Loka dhatu su kutrachit, in the entire 3 realms of existence. Chitta eva hi sambuddho. Mind itself is Buddha. Na buddho lavate anyatra. The Buddha is not found anywhere else. So the mind is the Buddha. But what is meant by mind here is not what you and I call mind, dualistic mind. So it's basically meant by nature of mind. Ultimately, of course, if you go to the nature of mind and you've experienced it, you've understood it, you've practiced it, then even what we call dualistic mind is that mind. But before you understand, recognize, experience the nature of mind, you have to distinguish these two. You have to distinguish these two. Like, for example, in the Kaiju tradition, thought itself is Mahamudra. Yeah, but if you don't really understand the nature of mind and just go after thoughts, you're never going to get into Mahamudra. But if you've understood Mahamudra, means the nature of mind, then you understand thought itself is also Mahamudra. So this is the basis of Vajrayana, and then going further up, just the mind, nature of mind, dealing with only nature of mind is the higher stage of Vajrayana. In the Vajrayana tradition, actually, it is understood that after you practiced the Vajrayana practices of generation stage and completion stage over and over again, then you kind of leap up to just the practice of the nature of mind. In Tibet, there is the tradition called Dzogchen, which is Mahasandhi in Sanskrit, which deals directly with the nature of mind. That is the highest, automatically, but it is also slippery. People can fool themselves and waste their time on it. That is exactly what happened to Milarepa. Milarepa first went to a Dzogchen teacher. He gave him the instructions. There is nothing to do. Just relax. Just be. Just be aware, and so on. And so he said, "Oh, that's very easy." And after 6 months, the teacher asked him, "What's going on?" Of course, nothing was going on. So then the teacher told him, "Then you are not fit for this. You should go for the gradual method." So he sent him to Marpa. But these are not two discrete, different things. In the Hevajra Tantra, in the Chakrasambhar Tantra, what is called Dzogchen is considered as a continuity of the generation stage and completion stage practices. Generation stage is called Utpatti Kram, and completion stage is called Sampanna or Nishpanna Kram. And the Hevajra Tantra says, like two twigs, if you rub them against each other, the Sampanna Kram and Utpanna Kram, the fire of wisdom will arise. When the fire of wisdom begins to arise, then you are already in what could be called the Dzogchen stage. And then you drop everything, and you just continue in that practice. In the Sakya tradition, it is said that once you really enter the path of seeing, then you can drop all other practices and just do there. Just do the nature of mind only, but not before that. But in the Nyingma tradition, because they teach Dzogchen straight away, directly, so sometimes they leave the lower creation stage, the completion stage thing, practice quicker and faster and move on. But in the Sakya tradition, it is made very clear that you must really have created the fire of wisdom by rubbing the two together, before you leave it. So these are different schools, Nyingma, Kaiju, Sakya, there are minute differences in how they go about the path. And now coming back to Vajrayana. Vajrayana is also called Tantrayana because it is based on the texts called Tantra, like Sutra, Tantra, Hevajra Tantra, Chakrasambhar Tantra, Kala Chakra Tantra, they are, those texts are called Tantra, and because the methods, the practices and everything is based on those Tantras, like before we said on Sutras, they are called Tantrayana also. They are also called Mantrayana because it uses mantra, but as I said here, mantra actually means the nature of mind. So it is also called Mantrayana. It is also called Sahajayana, means innate enlightened state yana, because it uses the nature of mind, which is the innate enlightened state, as practice. It is also called Phalayana. Phala means fruit. Remember I said that the Sutrayana is also called Hetu or causal yana. It creates causes and conditions to enlightenment. here in Mantrayana, or Vajrayana, now I will stick to the word Vajrayana. Vajrayana, we use the fruit as the path. The fruit is made into the path. And what is the fruit? The nature of mind. The nature of mind. So, like in Dzogchen tradition, they introduced to the nature of mind called Trekchu, and then you remain in that nature of mind and practice until you are stabilized. Then you get the next stage of practice called Tugal. And Vajrayana, in proper Vajrayana, let's call it proper Vajrayana. Some Nyingma masters say Dzogchen is different from Vajrayana also, but I don't think that is really correct, because what is talked about in Dzogchen is found in Tantrayana as well, But proper Vajrayana, you practice creation stage or generation stage, where you create the mandala. In Sanskrit called Utpatti Kram. Utpatti means creating, arousing, creating, Utpatti Kram, and you recognize the nature of mind in that mandala too, And then you practice Nishpanna Kram or Sampanna Kram means completion stage. Completion stage is practices like Chandali, Tummo, and other practices, other practices where also you continue to recognize the nature of mind, and through that practice, and also within the generation stage practice, you create the mandala and then you dissolve the mandala. So you don't stick on to the mandala, you dissolve the mandala, and in both you recognize the nature of mind, and so through this kind of practice, gradually wisdom, sahaja jnana, innate wisdom will begin to arise within you, and it will become stronger and stronger. Once you reach a certain stage, then you leave all those practices, and it's called charya. Nowadays, it is difficult to practice those charya, but it is like testing yourself, like when you read the text, it's almost like saying that you dress like a hippie and move around in towns and cities, It's testing yourself when people criticize you or people laugh at you, whether you feel, oh, they criticize me, that's the ego coming up, or it doesn't matter anymore, whether people laugh at you or criticize you or whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. That's called charya, activity, go to places of war, bombs, maybe Iraq, and move around when the missiles are flying all over you. Do you have fear? Are you afraid? Does your body shrink, and cringe? So this is called charya. But of course, you can do that only if you have really reached a certain stage. Otherwise, you get shell-shocked if you go to Iraq, and come back a sick man, So these are called charya, and every situation in life, no matter what, weirdest situation, the mind remains the same, unchanged, undisturbed, undisturbed. So that's what is called charya, and this is found in all the tantras. But nowadays, very few people do that, and simply because I think people recognize you, so it's difficult. There it says go to places where nobody knows you, nobody knows you, and nowadays through Facebook and so on, everybody knows you, So it's kind of difficult to do all that, But still, you can test yourself in difficult situations, whether the mind remains calm, quiet, and in the nature of mind, or the ego comes up, and so on, right? Like one of my teachers, Shreedhar Rinpoche, used to say, no matter how many years you meditate in the caves of the Himalayas, the test of how deep you have gone, how deep you have realized is in the city. When you bump shoulders with people, then that's where the test is. So the principle of charya is based on that, But it's very easy to stay up in the caves and nice and peaceful and I think I've realized, my mind is so calm and quiet. The sunset is so beautiful from up there, and sunrise is so beautiful. It's very easy. But when you go to Tamil or these places, how's your mind? How's your mind? So that's how Vajrayana moves, gradually from an elaborate, fabricated practice to gradually an unfabricated state. And there are a lot of small points in Vajrayana practice, Like as I said, the nature of mind is very, very important. Without that, just creation stage, completion stage is not enough. So it's not a question of just doing tummo because tummo or chandali in Sanskrit because Milarepa did it. And you can learn it in the books and then practice tummo and chandali. But if you don't have the nature of mind, you don't know what it is, you haven't recognized it, then that is not going to produce. It's going to produce blissful states, nice states and those kind of things, but not enlightenment, not sahaja jnana. So that is how Vajrayana moves. And how is this different? Other names is Sahajayana. Did I say that? Yes, Sahajayana and Phalayana. Yeah, okay. Now, how is this different from Hindu Tantra? How is it different from Hindu Tantra? Now, this is a very interesting question. In the Indian subcontinent, and a lot of Western people are influenced because India is the biggest part of the Indian subcontinent, and most of them are Hindus, and they write prolifically. They write many books, they give lectures, the YouTube is filled with Indian gurus and so on, and that this kind of seeps into the Western world as well. People have the concept that because Hinduism is older than Buddhism, Hindu Tantra must be the older one, and Buddhist Tantra is after that, or copied from that. And a lot of non-Vajrayana Buddhists also kind of think that is so, But historically, that is not correct. First of all, iconographically, the famous Indian iconographer of Indian iconography, Vinay Tosh Bhattacharya, said very clearly, on the basis of iconography, it can be 100% clearly said that Hindu Tantra is a copy of Buddhist Tantra, and Hinduized through the centuries. Then there are two texts of the Shaiva Tantra. They are called Pichu Tantra, and the Pichu Tantra is a group of tantras, and there are two called Brahma Yamal Tantra and Rudra Yamal Tantra, and both have very interesting story. They say that a man called Vasishtha is an ancient seer, rishi of India, and so a lot of things is attributed to him, or Vyas, or the various names in India, And a man called Vasishtha went to Mahachina. Mahachin is Tibet. Chin is China, Mahachin is Tibet. Went to Tibet to study Tantra with Shiva in the form of Buddha. Now that's very interesting, with Shiva in the form of Buddha. You can see that sentence is Hinduizing everything, but they keep it, they are honest enough to say that the form is Buddha, which means they must, whoever it was, the Indian, must have gone to Tibet to study under a Tibetan master, Now this brings out the question, why would an Indian go up to Tibet to study Tantra when up till 11th, 12th century, Tibetans came down to India to study Tantra? Nalanda, Bikramashil, on these biharas, monastic complexes, they came down to study with the Indians, with the Nepalese and the Indians. Why would an Indian go up to Tibet to study Tantra? That means it was after the Islamic invasion which destroyed Nalanda and all these, Nalanda, Bikramashil, all these was destroyed, and therefore Buddhist Tantra had collapsed. And so then some Indians seems to have gone up to Tibet to study. It's obvious, it's very simple. And so these two show that Hindu Tantra is copied over from Buddhist Tantra and then Hinduized. Because they did Hinduize it, it is very different in ground, path and fruit. So you take the ground, first of all of Hinduism is theistic, right? So Hindu Tantra is also theistic. In Sanskrit it is called Ishwarvad, belief in a God, a creator God. Buddhism is non-theistic, un-Ishwarvad. There is no Ishwar, no creator God that created the world. If you have understood the principle of Pratitya Samutpada, interdependent origination, then you know that this samsara, I prefer to use the word samsara rather than to universe, because universe means only the physical world. Samsara includes non-physical world as well. Is beginningless and endless. It is a flow of causes and conditions. River of causes and conditions, continuously changing. And that is the reason why Ishwar or God, capital G God, is meaningless in Buddhism. The question arises, when did he create? The Bible says 4,000 years ago. But in Buddhism, that's meaningless. When did he create? It was always there. The universe is beginningless. So he didn't create the universe. He didn't create samsara, or he or she. Whoever, God is supposed to be. So Buddhism is non-theistic, and that already makes it a big difference. Then it's very interesting. Human are human. We have the same psychology. Depending on what kind of a view you have, you begin to experience that kind of thing. So all theistic religious system, when they go down into deep meditation, seems to have the same kind of experience. I will explain in Hinduism. Hinduism, there are 3 levels of experience. The first is called dasoham. Das means slave. Aham is close to the English word I am, right? So dasoham, I am the slave. The God, whatever deity is taken as God, like Krishna or Kali or whatever, I am the slave of that God. So I take the mantra, and the whatever, read, study, practice, meditate on that God, on that deity, that particular deity, over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. And it seems to be a common human mind psychology that all over theistic religious system, they seem to be having the same kind of experience. Gradually, the person begins to merge into that deity, through his faith, devotion, and the mantra or whatever, into the deity. And that is called soham. So means that, aham, I am. I am that. I am that particular deity. And then if the person keeps on going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, he dissolves completely into the deity. He doesn't exist anymore. Only the deity exists. And that is na-ham. Na means no, aham, no me. These 3 steps are the steps of Hindu Tantra. Now Hinduism is a very complex system. So I'm generalizing it. There are forms of Hindu Tantra and Hinduism which are very dualistic. In that case, there is no way I become that. But most of Hindu Tantra, Shaiva Tantra, and the female deity called Shakti. Shakti is female deities. Tantra, they are all non-dualistic. And this is the process of experience in the non-dualistic systems. Now it's very interesting, the Sufi saint Al-Mansur, said almost the same thing. Haq is truth, means the truth. It is the name of Allah, right? And this is the word that has trickled down even into Nepali, and haq means right in Nepali, my right, you know. And Mansur said, Hu al haq, I am the slave of Allah. Then an al haq, I am Allah, the same as Allah. And then haq, only Allah. You know, it's exactly the same. You know, the only difference is in the Abrahamic religious system, this is considered as heretic, unfortunately. And Mansur was crucified for it, you know, put on the stake for it, you know. And he was a famous man, he was a great man. They called him to the court and they said, withdraw this statement and we'll leave you. And he said, how can I withdraw the truth? This is the truth. So then they had to put him in the stake, you know, and he was impaled. That's the English word, I think, you know, impaled. And but here in India, such people were idolized.